Welcome back, viewers. The Maharashtra government is considering a policy that would mandate vehicle buyers to provide proof of parking space before purchasing a vehicle as part of its 100-day transformative drive. The government says that the proposal is aimed at addressing the mounting problem of vehicular congestion in urban areas and densely populated cities and will apply to new vehicle registrations only. The netizens, however, remain divided over the policy. Is it absurd or a viable solution to the congested roads in your cities? Only time will tell. But before that, let's understand the rationale behind this thought. Here's why the government is planning to change some of these rules. Number one, the biggest concern, unprecedented rise in vehicles given a population rise in these metropolitan cities mostly. Second is parking issue and road congestion, which is a subsequent fallout of rise in people and vehicles. Number third concern being this is being done to ensure smoother vehicular movement. Further, it's also going to tackle parking indiscipline in urban areas, especially in residential localities, and will also limit private vehicles and promote public transport, which is being spoken of each and every state government and at the central level as well. To understand whether the policy will work, let's understand how cities are managing traffic congestion across the globe and some of the ideas that have been implemented. There's a congestion charge for entering central London that is aimed at reducing traffic volume. There are high parking fee in central areas to encourage use of public transport, and the move also helps lower air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. In New York, for instance, resident parking permit system limits parking in certain areas, reducing congestion in high density zones. In China, Shanghai, license plate auction system makes car ownership expensive and buyers are required to win a license plate in a lottery or bid in an auction. There's also a vehicle quota system that limits the number of cars on the road in Singapore, and new vehicles require a certificate of entitlement that is valid for 10 years. High parking fee and time-limited spaces discourage long-term parking in Zurich as well. Parking management system uses a color-coded zoning system and encourages use of public transport and parking garages. In Tokyo, for instance, once again a heavily populated city, new vehicles require proof of a parking space for registration, something that is similar to the proposal by the Maharashtra government, which is still in the pipeline. The move is aimed at reducing street parking and managing congestion in populated areas. But is it absurd or a viable solution? Call us, share your thoughts with us and tell us what you think about this move in the making. We'll be taking this up with our experts in just a bit, and we're opening our call-in lines as well. But here are the reactions we've picked up so far.
खासकर एमएमआर रीजन में ट्रैफिक की समस्या का हल देखते हुए ये पॉलिसी सोच रहे हैं कि जिसके पास कार की पार्किंग की व्यवस्था हो, खुद की हो, वही अगर आदमी कैपेबल होगा तो वो गाड़ी ले पाएगा।
Let's quickly open this up with Daniel Francis, political brand strategist and communication advisor. He's obviously going to be giving us a perspective on where the government is coming from and what really is the thought that's gone into this policy in the making. And Shiv Khera, author and academician, is also with us this evening. A very good evening to both you gentlemen. Can I first begin with Mr. Francis? Mr. Francis, we've been, putting out all those excerpts of the conversation with the minister who's broken down all of those details. He's spoken of the thought behind it. But how positive are you about this policy becoming a reality and being accepted by one and all in Maharashtra?
Well, radical problems need radical solutions. There's a problem in a city like Mumbai. There are other cities in Maharashtra like Pune, Nagpur. They are over-congested, difficult to navigate. And there is a problem of traffic management, road management, fire management. And all those things have to be looked at in a radical manner. The policy that the Maharashtra government is mulling, and I'm told is to ease that kind of congestion and make roads safer and also decongest them. Second thing is the kind of we do not absolutely do not have any policy for decongesting our cities. Most of our cities are cities that are dying. They are cities that are not having enough infrastructure or policies and program that can accommodate the kind of vehicular purchases that are happening. And in that view, I think it's a progressive policy, because cities like London or New York, Mumbai, these are big cities in the world, and they need proper management in terms of road and traffic management. And I feel that this policy will definitely bring about certain change in the way vehicular traffic is managed in cities. And Bombay, for example, is a very narrow
Yeah.
city, and parking is a very big issue. Parking is a big issue for cars. People are buying cars left, right, and center, and without having proper parking. And these cars are left on road, so there is absolutely no space for pedestrians to walk. There's no space for fire engines to run. So,
But this,
there are
if I'm not
systematic
wrong,
problems.
Mr. Francis, before I go across to Mr. Khera, is only being restricted to residential localities, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. But a beginning is a beginning. Now, good beginning must be appreciated, because these beginnings are definitely going to, and these are experiments that governments need to do. You cannot be, sitting duck on
Okay.
issues of public interest.
Okay, and any change like this is usually initially met with resistance. So we're perhaps going to have to bear with that. But I do want Mr. Khera's thoughts on this as well. Mr. Shiv Khera, what do you make of this? And to add to what Daniel is saying, Mumbai, the road condition is also so bad, the traffic condition is also so bad because it's got a linear geography as compared to, let's say, a city like New Delhi, which has a radial geography. So that in turn increases challenges for the residents there when it comes to the traffic situation.
Christowin, including cities like Delhi, the traffic problem is pan-India, number one. It is not only Bombay or Delhi, which Bombay is of course linear, and Delhi is spread out a lot more. And you are talking of residential parking. Even in Delhi, there are places like Greater Kailash, other places where people have pulled out guns and tried to shoot each other to get a parking lot right there, parking spot. So this is within the residential communities also, this is what is going on. Now we need to understand a few things. Number one, this is utter failure of proper planning by the government of India. It is a cumulative problem. Were they not seeing all this time that was going on in the last 3 months or 3 years? This has not happened overnight. Number one. Now number two, you just mentioned about Singapore. Yeah, they have taxes and other monies on to buying vehicles. But have you seen the public transportation in Singapore? Every building, they've got public transportation within 100 yards walking distance of every building in the whole country. So now coming back to India, there are some remedies. You see, one, the infrastructure, as the gentleman just said. You see, they are building new roads, but the first rain that comes in, the road gets potholes. What happened to the road? These guys have just eaten the money, put the money in their pocket, the politicians, and gone away. That's what has happened. What happened? Now, how can they remedy the whole thing? You see, you look at the shopping malls, you look at the residential areas. You know something, every residential area and shopping area, there are properties, plots, shops, they're out for sale. Now, if the government had half a head, they should have bought half the area. They buy it. They're not acquiring it without paying money. They can buy it and create that whole area into a parking lot. What's wrong with it? I know in Delhi, where I'm staying here, in C Block, there are cars parked all outside everywhere. And now, do you know in Delhi, when you build a new home, it is mandatory for you to build stills for parking. And I know people who have built stills. And what are they doing? They're having their kids and grandkids play table tennis there. They're playing football there. And yet they park the car outside. Now, what is this? Why is the government so silly and sleeping and doing nothing about it? People can't even take the cars back and forth. So look, there has to be some responsible governance, proper leadership who has the will to take care of it. There are solutions.
You're saying there are
I
problems
repeat,
more than one.
There are solutions. Pardon?
You're saying there are problems more than one, and while this may just be a beginning or this may just be a step in that direction, there are larger problems that have been left unaddressed. And while this could be a welcome step, if they are not addressed, then this is not going to really bear fruit, is what you're saying, Mr. Khera.
But Christine, you can't spill over milk till what happened earlier. It happened now, we cannot undo it. But bottom line, what do we do now? Important thing is, every locality, every shopping center, everywhere, there are people who are doing well and there are people who are hurting and they are not doing well. And they are putting up their own properties for sale. Why don't the government pick up, buy up a lot there and make the entire place as a parking lot? You can put
but we're seeing that happen. We're seeing
locality.
that happen in some of the places as well, Mr. Khera. In fact, you know, adjacent to some of the malls that are frequently visited by people in one particular area of the national capital, we've seen adjacent parking lots also being made. So that's also happening. But before I take that to Daniel and I come back to you, we have our callers dialing in already, and they may want to take some questions with you as well. Harish Das calling us from Mumbai. Good evening, Harish. What's your take?
Good evening. I feel that Maharashtra government is justified in insisting on parking facilities for all new car buyers, because unless and until we minimize the number of cars on the road, definitely it will hamper the existing vehicle owners. And also the government should regulate only one car per owner. It is illogical to have a family having 2-3 cars and taking out the car irrespective of the urgency.
Okay, one car per owner. One car per owner is what you say, not one car per family. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Harish Das, for calling us this evening on Plain Speak. I want to go across to our next caller, Ajay Kumar, calling us from Mumbai once again. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So, what I want to say is that this is a beginning, but more of a symbolic beginning. Why? Because I think a lot of space in Mumbai is occupied by various government offices, various political parties' offices, and also by various ministers' bungalows and Mantralay and Reserve Bank and Navy. A lot of space is occupied. I think when they are developing new areas like new city in Panvel and all, I think first thing they should start with is many of these establishments should move to those new areas. That will be a real solution. It will help expand Mumbai also in a way.
Oh, that's very interesting you say that, Ajay, and thank you for sharing that thought. Mr. Daniel, that's one suggestion that I've also come across, you know, when I was going through other reactions. People say that while corporate offices are still spread out, you know, in a city like Mumbai or Delhi, for instance, but what about your government offices, your your key government residential areas? All of that is still in the heart of the city. So what do you do about a problem like that? A. B. What are the specifications when it comes to this policy? Our caller just a short while ago spoke of one car per owner. Are any of those specifications also going to be mentioned?
No, I think the process of this policy making is that the government is going to launch a public consultation in which public opinion will be taken in account before a formal policy is launched. Because without taking the voices of the citizens and the public on board, a policy like this will not work. A policy that is only made by bureaucrats and approved by the government. it will need a larger consultation. Every city, every area has its own dynamics, and to protect the interest of local citizens as well as those need these open spaces.
Yes,
There
no, because
has to be a very good balance.
we have to consider what Mr. Khera said just a short while ago. This will also mean that ensuring better public transport in all of these cities, it can't just stop with these kind of rules being made mandatory for one and all.
Obviously, Mr. Kera's
And
point
how do you
is a
apply
very-
to all cities? Delhi, Bombay, perhaps you will be able to closely monitor it. But if
For example,
if it gets applied to Pan Maharashtra, all of Maharashtra,
see,
yes.
anything new that comes in India as a public policy is always looked at as this will not work. Okay, this will not work. I understand that attitude that we have, but we need to give a chance to such policies and see if they work. Of course, if they don't work, they'll be scrapped. There's no question about it. There's no public transport to support that kind of this. But for example, a person with 2 members, 3 members in families having 4 cars, 5 cars, 3 cars, that is a real problem.
Yes.
Because people have money, people are buying cars. Because they are having cars, they are taking the cars everywhere.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And since I'm out of time, I want to give the last word to Mr. Shiv Khera as well to respond to you. 30 seconds to you, so I quickly need to wrap up, because if we don't come out with any solution, then this problem is going nowhere, and we're going to see, you know, these kind of jam-packed streets across the country.
Christine, you mentioned about Switzerland. Do you know in Switzerland, the president of Switzerland and prime minister, they travel in public transportation. They use public transportation there. So when you make comparisons, let us make a fair comparison. Here, each VIP so-called, they have 25 vehicles and 25 big acres of land and so on. But most important thing is, the solution to this is when they say you must have a parking place, 1 family, 1 car. But tell me, they're joint families, there are 6 families or 5 families living in 1 home.
Yeah.
1 person gets 1 car. What the other balance of the other people? How will they? Public transportation is missing. Do you need horses back? You want to get back to the days when we are riding horses on the street? No, they have to come back and create space for parking.
Yes, you
lots.
create an entire
New vehicles are
ecosystem.
coming. Do you know
But
in Delhi,
Mr. Khera, that's exactly what Daniel
That's
is also
right.
saying, that all of that needs to still be chalked out. This is
That's
in the
right.
very initial stages. We're going to hold detailed consultations with all stakeholders, take public
but
view as well.
they need to do it now.
Yes,
they,
now is
they,
the time.
They have waited too long and wasted too much time.
Okay, too little too late is what you're saying, but okay, this is we're moving forward, we're taking this somewhere. How positive the implementation is going to be, if at all, remains to be seen, and we're going to have to watch out for that one. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. Thanking all our viewers this evening as well. That's all the time we had in this edition of Plain Speak. Thanks for watching. Up next, after a very quick break, Anand Narsimhan on The Right Stand.